I never planned to chase ghosts in Texas, but something about this state pulls you in. Maybe it's the empty highways, the forgotten towns, or the way the wind suddenly goes quiet when you're standing somewhere you shouldn't be. Every place I visited on this trip left a mark on me. Some made my heart race. Others made me question what I really saw, or heard. And a few still follow me in my sleep. These aren't rumors or legends. These are the moments I experienced with my own eyes. So if you're ready, let's step into Texas after dark. If you enjoy real ghost hunt stories like this, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. 1. Dallas Love Field Airport, Dallas, Texas. I remember the evening I got stuck at Dallas Love Field Airport like it happened yesterday. My flight had been delayed because of a sudden thunderstorm, and most passengers had already found a spot to lie down or scroll through their phones. I was tired, but something about that night kept pulling my attention toward the older end of the terminal, the part that always feels quieter than it should be. The lights there flickered a little more than usual, and for some reason, I felt this strange push to walk that way. As I moved deeper into the empty corridor, I noticed how the sounds of the airport slowly faded behind me. No chatter. No rolling suitcases. Just my footsteps echoing against the polished floor. I don't know why, but the silence made me feel like someone was walking beside me, even though nobody was there. I tried to ignore it, telling myself airports are huge and old and naturally make weird noises. But that explanation didn't last long. When I passed the closed cafe, I heard a sharp metallic click right behind me, like a boot heel hitting the ground. I turned around so fast I almost lost my balance. The entire hallway was empty. Nothing moved, not even the air. I tried to laugh it off, but my chest felt tight, and that sense of being watched grew heavier, like someone was standing just a few feet away, studying me. I kept walking until I reached the window facing the old runway. The storm clouds had cleared a little, and the wet pavement reflected the dim lights outside. That's when I saw him. A man, standing near the edge of the runway, wearing what looked like an old pilot uniform. Not modern, older, like something from the 1950s. He didn't move. Didn't turn. Just stood facing the runway lights. I froze. At first I thought he was a worker, but the uniform didn't match anything I'd ever seen at airports today. I blinked, just once, and he was gone. No walking away. No fading. Just gone, like he had never been there at all. My heart was beating so fast I could feel it in my throat. I stepped closer to the glass, searching every corner outside. Nothing. Only the sound of distant engines and the reflection of the empty terminal behind me. But then the chills hit me, the kind you feel deep in your spine. Because in that reflection, right behind my shoulder, I saw the shape of someone standing there. Not clear, not sharp, but definitely there. I turned instantly, and once again there was nobody. The corridor was empty from end to end. But the air was cold now, colder than any air conditioning should be. It felt like someone had walked right past me. I didn't wait another second. I hurried back toward the main terminal where people were sitting, talking, and living their normal lives, as if I had just stepped out of a separate world entirely. Later I found out that several airport workers had reported seeing an airman wandering near the old runway for decades. Some say he died in a crash during training. Others say he was a crew member who never made it back from a mission. But every story ends the same way: he still walks the airport, especially on stormy nights, looking for the flight he never boarded. That night, I understood why so many people believe it's true. I wasn't supposed to see him, yet I did. And I still don't know if he saw me too. Point 2. North Star Mall, San Antonio, Texas. I didn't plan to stay late at North Star Mall that night. I was helping a friend close his small kiosk near the center court, and by the time we finished, most of the shops had already locked their gates. The mall gets strangely quiet after closing time, a kind of silence that makes you aware of your own breathing. My friend had already left through the employee exit, but I had parked on the far side, so I had to walk past the older section of the mall alone. I kept telling myself it was just another empty mall after hours, but something felt off as soon as I stepped toward the long corridor leading to the older retail wing. The lights were dimmer there, flickering softly like they were struggling to stay alive. My footsteps echoed more sharply, and the sound bounced back in a way that made it feel like someone else was walking at the same pace behind me. I slowed down, and the echo slowed too. I stopped completely, and the sound took half a second longer to fade. That delay made my stomach drop. I tried to shake it off and continued walking, but halfway down the corridor, I heard a whisper. Not a voice calling my name, just a short, breathy sound like someone exhaled right next to my ear. I spun around so fast my bag slipped off my shoulder. The entire hallway was empty. But the air behind me felt warm, like someone had just been standing there. I decided to pick up the pace. As I passed the closed escalator near the department store, I noticed something that made my skin crawl. At the very top of the escalator, where the light barely reached, a figure leaned slightly over the railing. I couldn't see the details of a face, just the shape of a person standing perfectly still. I froze, hoping it was a mannequin, even though I knew no mannequin had ever been placed there. Then it moved. Just a small shift of the head, as if it tilted to look directly at me. My breath caught in my throat. I couldn't move for a few seconds, and when I finally stepped back, the figure pulled away from the railing and disappeared into the shadows like it had stepped into a room that wasn't even there. My hands were shaking when I reached for my phone to use the flashlight. The light barely cut through the hallway, but it was enough for me to see the escalator fully now, and the top platform was empty. Completely empty. I didn't wait for anything else. I walked fast, almost jogging, until I reached the exit. But right before I pushed the door open, something made me look back. The corridor was dim, quiet, still, but halfway down, one of the metal shop gates trembled on its own, like something inside had just pushed it from behind. When I finally reached my car, my shirt was stuck to my back from panic. I later learned that part of the mall was built near old burial grounds, and several security guards had reported seeing a black shadow figure roaming the upper floors after closing. I didn't need their stories to believe it. I had already seen enough myself. 3. Galveston Seawall Beach, Galveston, Texas. I went to Galveston Seawall Beach on a weekday evening, hoping to clear my mind after a long drive. The sky was already turning orange, and the waves were crashing harder than usual, like the ocean was restless. I had heard stories about this beach, especially about the spirits connected to the 1900 storm, but honestly, I never believed them completely. I thought people exaggerated things. But that evening, something felt different as soon as I stepped onto the wet sand. The beach wasn't empty, but everyone looked far away, scattered like shadows. I walked toward the quieter side, where the seawall curves a little. As I got closer, the sound of the ocean became heavier, almost like whispering between the waves. I remember stopping for a second because I felt this sudden coldness wrap around me, even though the weather was warm. It didn't make sense. The air felt like someone had walked right past me. I kept walking, telling myself it was just the wind, but then I noticed something strange. There were footprints on the sand ahead of me. Wet, fresh footprints, but they were forming one by one, like someone invisible was walking just a few steps in front of me. I froze. My first thought was that maybe a kid or swimmer was nearby, but there was no one. The beach was open and flat. If someone was there, I would have seen them instantly. I followed the footprints slowly, not sure why. Maybe curiosity, maybe fear. The prints led toward the water, but before they reached the waves, they simply stopped. As if the person had vanished into thin air. The ocean rolled forward, but the prints didn't wash away immediately. They stayed there for a few seconds longer than they should have, like something was holding them in place. That's when I heard it, the faint sound of crying. It wasn't loud, not dramatic, just soft and steady, like someone trying not to be heard. I turned in every direction, but the sound didn't come from anywhere specific. It felt like it was inside the wind itself. My chest tightened because the crying didn't sound like an adult. It sounded like a child. I stepped closer to the edge of the water, and my reflection shook in the moving waves. But right behind my reflection, for just a second, I saw another figure, small, blurry, standing still, almost as if holding my shoulder. I jumped back so fast I slipped on the wet sand. When I scrambled up, the figure was gone, and the waves looked normal again. I forced myself to leave, walking fast along the seawall. But halfway back, I felt that same coldness behind me, the same presence that had followed me earlier. I didn't look back. I just kept walking until the sound of people and traffic drowned out everything else. Later that night, I searched the history of Galveston again. Dozens of children died in that storm, many never found. Locals still say their spirits wander the shoreline, looking for the families they lost. After what I saw, I don't doubt it anymore. That beach still remembers, even if we try to forget. 4. The Galleria Mall, Houston, Texas. I never expected to stay late at the Galleria Mall that night. I was only there to pick up something from a store before closing, but heavy rain outside made everyone move slower, including me. By the time I walked out of the store, the mall was already closing, and most people had either left or were rushing toward the parking garages. The mall looks beautiful during the day, but after closing, it feels like a completely different place, quiet, huge, and strangely cold. I didn't want to walk alone, but the nearest exit was on the opposite end, so I just kept moving. As I walked past the big open area near the ice rink, I noticed how empty everything looked. The sound of the rain outside echoed faintly through the glass ceiling. The escalators were still running, but the shops were dark, their gates reflecting long shadows across the floor. I don't know why, but I felt watched, like someone standing behind one of those gates was keeping their eyes on me. I tried brushing it off as my imagination, but the feeling didn't go away. Halfway down the corridor, I heard something, someone walking behind me. Not running, not rushing, just slow, steady footsteps matching my pace. I stopped. The footsteps stopped too. I took 3 steps forward, and again, the sound followed. I turned around quickly, expecting to see a security guard or a late shopper, but the hallway was completely empty. Not a single person. My heartbeat got heavier. I picked up my pace and turned toward the escalators, hoping to get downstairs faster. When I stepped onto the escalator, I saw something that made every hair on my arms stand up. On the floor below, just at the end of the moving stairs, a figure stood. Completely still. A tall, thin shadow, shaped like a person but darker than anything around it. It didn't move. Didn't shift. Just stood facing the escalator like it was waiting for me. My legs locked for a second. I wanted to turn back, but the escalator kept carrying me down little by little. When I reached the bottom, the figure had vanished. The space was empty. I looked around, pretending to be brave, but my hands were shaking so badly I had to hide them in my pockets. I kept walking, this time faster, toward the exit near the parking garage. Just before reaching the glass doors, I felt a sudden cold breeze behind me, so cold that it cut straight through my clothes. I turned around, and one of the closed shop gates right behind me shuddered, like someone had grabbed the bars from the inside and shaken them hard. The sound echoed sharply across the empty mall. I froze, staring at the gate, but nothing moved again. I didn't look back after that. I ran out into the rain, not caring how wet I got. The moment I reached my car, I locked the doors and just sat there, trying to calm my breathing. Later, when I searched about the mall, I found old posts from former employees talking about a shadow figure in the upper floors and cold spots in the closing hours corridors. They all said the same thing: if you feel followed in the Galleria after closing, don't turn around. I understood exactly what they meant. 5. Stewart Beach Parking Area, Galveston Island, TX. I reached Stewart Beach late in the evening, much later than I had planned. The sky was already turning dark, and most people had left for the day. Only a few cars were scattered across the huge parking area, their headlights fading as they drove away. I didn't want to stay long, but something about the cool night breeze made me walk a little slower toward my car. The place felt strangely quiet, almost too quiet for a beach that usually stays lively until late. As I unlocked my car, I heard something. Like soft crunching on the gravel. Footsteps. Slow ones. I turned around, expecting to see someone coming toward the beach, but the entire parking lot was empty. Just my car, a few old streetlights, and the sound of the waves hitting the shore behind me. I tried ignoring it and opened my door, but then I heard it again. This time closer. I stepped back and looked around carefully. The light from the lamp above me flickered, throwing strange shadows across the pavement. For a moment, I thought I saw someone standing near the far end, just a dark figure, too still, too quiet. I blinked, and the figure disappeared, replaced by the empty stretch of asphalt. My heartbeat started picking up. I didn't want to panic, so I told myself maybe it was just a shadow from a passing car. But when I checked the road, there was nothing. No cars. No people. Just silence. I got inside my car and shut the door, but the moment I put my hands on the steering wheel, something tapped lightly on the back window. A single tap. Not loud, but sharp enough to freeze my whole body. I didn't move. I didn't even breathe. I turned slowly, expecting maybe a branch or a piece of trash had hit the glass. But there was nothing behind my car. Just darkness. Then the tap came again. This time on the side window. My chest tightened so hard it hurt. I grabbed my keys and started the engine, but before I could shift into drive, the rearview mirror caught something, a figure standing right behind my car. Not close enough to touch it, but close enough that I could see the faint outline of a person. Tall. Still. Almost blending into the night. I swung around to look out the back window, and there was nobody. Completely empty. But the moment I turned forward again, my headlights flashed across the parking area, and I swear I saw someone running, fast, across the farthest corner of the lot. The movement was so quick it didn't look human. More like a flicker, a blur that vanished before my mind could process it. But I didn't wait to see anything else. I hit the gas and drove out of there, the fear sitting so deep in my stomach that I could barely breathe until I reached the main road. Later, when I mentioned it to a local, he just nodded and said, "People see things there all the time. Especially after dark. Those lost in the storms, they never really left." After that night, I believe him completely.